Good morning. Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to light my candle. I'll give it a moment here, see who else shows up. I've got my candle. So hopefully you have some space to do the same. I'm always a huge advocate and always make that invitation, especially when it comes to my work, to make it sacred, make it an opportunity to sink in and to become receptive. Some of this, we're receiving through aspects of our own wisdom channel, our own body. So it's nice when we can drop in this way. Ooh, that was a big one. Candle lit. I didn't receive an email or anything for this class. I just, what? You didn't? When did you sign up? We sent a reminder yesterday. You signed up a couple times. Oh, crap, really? Well, that's no good. We're working on like updating. There's all these changes with emails right now, and I'm having trouble. I'm going back and forth with MailChimp. It said it sent, so hopefully it did, but I don't know, maybe it didn't. Well, thanks for being here. If anything, we will dive in. It'll be a beautiful recording for whoever can't make it live. I just want to make sure. Okay. There's nobody asking for the link on Facebook. Oh, here's Nicole. Okay. All right. So I've got the fireplace lit in the yurt. Had to heat it up a little bit this morning. I'm really excited for this masterclass. I love to be able to teach and talk, but also to be able to drop into the Akashic field and guide a journey. One of the things that I feel is my gift and what I've been space holding for over a decade is really that place of supporting women to understand, to connect into, to clarify what their deeper desires are for their life. And I've realized over the years that many women struggle with this. And there's a reason for that. Like, we have not been taught as women or as, little girls to clarify the deeper desires of our heart, right? Or just the deeper desires of what we want to experience in a way that would truly nourish us, in a way that would truly light us up. I've got this. Sorry, give me a second. I'm fussing. There we go. I can see myself. I was so far away. And this happens all the time. It doesn't matter who you are as a woman. I find that because we tend to show up, and part of the conditioning with the roles that we often play is to give and to do and to nurture others. And so it can subtly happen where we disconnect from the deeper internal foundation of what we truly, truly desire. The thing is that our desires actually change. They shift and they change over time. And so it becomes a really important aspect of maintaining or going deeper in our sacred relationship to self, right? And so I know from my own journey as well that we can definitely have life situations that show up. Was it last year, the year before? I'm losing track of time. I think it's the year before. And with COVID, there was just so much going on with family, and people were getting sick, and there's like a lot to juggle. And I found myself at the end of the beginning of last year, probably. And I was in that place again where life was just feeling a little bit flat. I wasn't feeling satiated. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. It just felt like, and I was bored. Like, it just felt like there was something missing, and that's not like me, right? So it can just be slippery sometimes in terms of how we end up giving ourselves away or overriding the deeper voice of the soul, which essentially is our desires speaking to us. And I want to also speak to why so many women disconnect from their desires. And one, we haven't been encouraged, right? Like, especially as young women, and especially with the role often that we assume of like caretaking nurturers, right? It's very like external in terms of where we're placing our energy and our focus. But also, the other reason that we disconnect from our desires is often because it can be scary to access our deeper desires. When we start to, travel the spiral inward and we start to tap into our deeper desires, we're really acknowledging a deeper truth, right? The truth of what we want. And if we have patterns of caretaking or overriding our desires, and there's a lot of often peacekeeping tendencies that come with this, right? We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to create chaos. We don't want to instigate change that might make others uncomfortable, right? Like I'm sure that if you're catching the replay, or maybe some of you on here, you can relate to that. I see it all the time. I know for myself, not necessarily this last year, but if I go back 3 or 4 or 5 years where I was, really deepening into my feminine path, I remember a moment where I had been dancing around a deeper desire. And it was, a mentor that was space holding for me who pointed it out. One, I was afraid of like claiming the desire because I had tried to have the desire met earlier and it didn't work. And if I felt like I somehow had like failed, or it felt hard, or it just wasn't worth it. And two, it meant change. Like, it meant change in my relationship, it meant change in my business. And sometimes it means change in multiple relationships. So our desires they're really such a beautiful compass, right, to the truth of who we are, our deeper nourishment and fuller expression of who we were born to be. So powerful. The other aspect that often plays around this energy of desire, and we're in this space today where we just get to like dream into our desires. Like, that's like my favorite. Our desires, they are there for us to explore, to marinate in, to roll around with, to just kind of dream into in a way where we can tap into it and it starts to feel really good. Like, yes, that's it. And it can take us a while to uncover our desires. So I'm going to introduce you to what I call like the petal technique. Today, we're going to deepen into that in the Akashic field, which I'm super excited about that, because it can take some time to really unravel what that means for us, especially if we've been disconnected for a while. So I want to really open up and kind of sink into that. And our desires truly do, there's always that invitation. It's a deepening into receptivity. It's a softening into, right? It's a de-armoring. It's allowing ourselves to touch into those places that maybe we feel foreign to us, that maybe, does feel a little bit scary, but with love and softness and curiosity, knowing that as we start to uncover our desires, they don't have to be something that we automatically claim. We have immense power in that place of claiming our desires. And that is kind of, sometimes that's the scariest part, is like actually claiming and deciding that no matter what, we're going to show up for our desires. Right. And in that process, there is a beautiful creative spark that happens. And that dance becomes between us and the divine, right? We start to co-create in that moment of claiming our desires. It's very powerful. We step into our co-creative power. But my invitation is to take your time to feel through the layers, right? To feel through the layers and to dance with your desires for a little while. I never really thought about it, but this is the perfect time of year in the wheel of the year to be dancing with your desires, right? It's that nice transition time right now from winter moving into spring. Spring to me is when you really start to like plant the seed, right? And we start to feel the motion of like how the growth and the evolution wants to take place. So we're in a beautiful time of just being able to sink into, to clarify, to get to know. And this is that beautiful feminine energy of being able to, in a place of spaciousness, have our desires and explore our desires in a way that is just for us. But again, the power comes from claiming our desires. That's where we step into our creative, sexual power as divine feminine women co-creating with the divine. So I'm going to bring a few different pieces forward. One of the things that I wanted to share on also was this old paradigm money matrix versus new paradigm money matrix. I know that doesn't quite feel right, but I'm going to share on that. Oh, I keep getting pinged with the word permission. This is age-old conditioning, thousands of years of conditioning. Like our feminine essence, she's the desire. And one thing that I know is that we have been conditioned, the feminine has been conditioned to wait for permission to have her desires. It's so sneaky. I've done that too. I see clients doing it. It's so sneaky where we are like ruminating under the surface around this desire, and then we're waiting and we're waiting for somebody, for some sign, for someone to say it's okay, you can have your desire. And it truly doesn't work like that. So I just wanted to bring this forward because it's a valid and valuable piece that you may now, or maybe 6 months from now, see that you're waiting for permission. And yet, as powerful women, we don't need permission. We just need our own permission to claim our desires, to have our desires, and to lead from a place of desire. So before I go any further, I want to share a little bit about myself because some of you don't know me. I look through the list of signups. I think we had almost 50 women sign up, and I don't know that I've met you or seen you on any other lives. So I want to just take a moment to share a little bit about myself. And so my name's Tara Preston, founder of the Akashic Women's School. I stepped onto this path 13 years ago, although I feel like my whole lifetime has been really exploring all of these layers of feminine power, if you will. So about 13 years ago, with the birth of my daughter, I stepped onto this path, and we actually lived in the city, but my old life was not feeling aligned anymore. It felt really tight, really limited. At that time, I was a makeup artist and a model and actually a flight attendant. I had a few things going on, and still that life just did not fit me. And I had this baby coming, and I just knew that at that time, I really wanted to be the mother that was important to me, who was living her authentic path, who was just feeling so free, so full. And I didn't want to be the mother who would just tell her daughter how to do it. I really wanted to be embodied in what that looked like and felt like. And so we made this leap to the countryside, quite a ways away from the city, and moved on to this acreage where we thought we'd only stay a year. And I remember taking like a sabbatical. I didn't even have a cell phone at that time. Like it was a year of just like listening and wanting to clarify the scope of my bigger purpose. And at that time, I knew that, and actually I had studied to become a birth doula at that time. I'm just remembering because I really wanted to empower women to step into their power and to trust themselves, right? And to trust themselves. And so that was a big piece, and to trust their intuition. I didn't end up pursuing that because I didn't love the schedule, but I did find the Akashic records. And that felt like such an important piece at that time. It still is, to supporting women to really understand how to navigate their authentic path, their soul level path, and to clear soul level patterns, karmic baggage that really doesn't serve our evolutionary path as women, as we rise in our embodied power, as we claim our desires, as we connect money to our desires, as we lead our lives powerfully from a deeper foundation of the truth of who we are. And to trust that, right? And to trust that. And so that is, I think still to a degree, that's some of what I'm definitely doing, especially through some of the larger transformations that I offer where women are taking a leap, right? It's about holding them in that place of power and building that trust muscle as they reinvent their lives into a greater expression of the truth of who they are. And that often requires a lot of shifting family dynamics, a lot of shifting relationship dynamics, a lot of coming into a new relationship with our faith and our trust in ourself and the divine, and money, right? And money as we step into our feminine leadership and have money meet us there so that we don't feel limited anymore. Because the truth is, as divine beings, as divine feminine women, right, our desires are divine. It is our divinity calling us into greater embodied expression of the truth of who we are so that our soul can have more of the experience in the physical world that it desires, right? And so we're not meant to be limited. We're meant to be in our power, to be in our soulful power, and to lead from that place, and to know that we have immense creative ability from that place, right? And in that place, we are an extension of the divine. We are creating from the divine, and resources, supply, money, it is flowing from the divine through people, right? To support us on our authentic path, right? To support us on our authentic path. And so instead of, what often happens is that women end up feeling very limited by money. And that's fair. And it's not to say that we always throw caution to the wind and take huge leaps, right? That's not necessarily for everyone. I've done that in the past, and it's sometimes miraculous and mind-blowing when you fully commit and step in and see how supported you are. But there's other times where in my system, it was a slow kind of like baby steps that I, would take. But the point is always is that we're taking the step, that we go first and then the money follows, right? That our divine leadership goes first, that we can understand what we desire. We can understand what our values are. We can understand what our vision is, and know that we are powerfully co-creating with the universe, with the divine. So there's something I want to kind of shift gears and talk a little bit about money. All right, talk about a little bit about money and about the old paradigm money matrix and the new paradigm money matrix. Still doesn't sound right, but I want to talk a little bit about that, because what often happens when we're feeling limited is that, and also when I'm channel teaching, I often talk in circles, but it will ground and land. Just receive the transmission and flow with me. So, because I'm like, I haven't finished my story about who I am, but it's okay. It'll weave in where it needs to. So is that women wait. And so that is often because we don't understand how to make money. It's all wonderful. Thank you, Lori. We don't understand how to make money our ally, and that is okay. I have certainly been there. Part of my story really is that I often, for a long time, was sharing around that journey to like six figures for me. Like that was such a teacher, because, and in a way that was rooted in my feminine leadership. Either in a way that was rooted in my feminine leadership, because I had the servant girl patterns, right? And so for me, stepping into the six-figure foundation was a journey into sovereignty, was a journey into upgrading the inner divine feminine, the divine masculine, wealthy divine heritage templates, right? So I really had to start to look at where I was chasing money, where money was limiting me, where I was like doing a lot all the time in my business, and there would just be like a little bit, right? There'd be like a little bit. So that's part of like the restoration around like our sovereign power as women, right? Stepping into our feminine leadership, as that we learn to be with our power. We learn to show up in a place of service and sovereignty, but it isn't in a way where we are working from the servant girl templates. A lot of the servant girl templates come from past lives, right? The wounded feminine aspect. It can be ancestral, and it's very often connected to our inner child, right? Where she's still kind of running the show, seeking validation, seeking approval, seeking love, seeking acceptance. Some of that we pick up from watching our own mother. So it can be, you know, the inner child stuff from present lifetime experiences. And so part of how we reverse that is by, we hear a lot about this now, but about the mother wound, right? And about learning how to bring the energy of the divine mother into our relationship with how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture our inner child, and how we start to speak to our power, right? That sovereign mother piece where we start to speak to our sovereignty, our leadership. Servant girl patterns. Yes. Does it sound like serpent? Servant girl or slave girl, but I just prefer servant girl. Yeah, that's so funny. I'm saying servant. Yeah. So there's that. And then there's also this like the chasing the money, right? Feeling like money's never there for us. And so that has to do with the father templates, the king templates, the masculine templates, right? Coming into a new experience where the energy of the divine, where God has our back, right? As we step into our power, as we rise in our sovereignty, it's the relationship that we develop with the divine, right? And how the divine gets to show up for us in our power as we say yes to our deeper desires, visions, and values. Now, this is also about the vibration of who we are becoming, right? We start to deepen into and identify our desires, our values, our vision. But it is also, it's the gap. I hear about this a lot. It's kind of my favorite place to like work with women is in the gap. Like you can feel the vision, you can see the vision, but it's like there's this experience. And no matter what I do, I can't seem to get to that vision. That's because the vision is not a step by step. It's not a linear get to. It is, especially when we're talking about soulful feminine leadership, it is a journey of embodiment. It is a journey of becoming a new vibrational version of ourselves, right? Who then experiences the beauty of her desires and actually starts to anchor and magnetize more of her desires, her vision, right? Opportunities, people, money to her from a new embodied center, from a new embodied state. So this is often this journey that we're doing when we're stepping into our sovereignty, when we're coming into this new paradigm of what I call divine prosperity, because as divine beings, when we're really unearthing and uncovering our deeper desires, the vision that we have, our deeper values, right? This becomes about us and our relationship to the divine, because oftentimes as women uncover this for themselves, they're like, whew, this feels so big. Like, how am I going to do this all by myself? And the thing is that you don't do it all by yourself. We're often, you know, a part of like the old paradigm is like we're doing it all ourselves. Like we have to work hard, we have to do it all ourselves. We're tired, we're disconnected. We don't want to let anyone help us because then it means that we're not like independent. So we got to armor up and we got to do the thing. So I just lost my train of thought because I went to fix my sweater, but give me 1 second here. Is that we don't do this all alone. And so we have to be able to come into a new relationship with an extension of our divinity. And as we do, and as we claim our desires, and as we claim our vision and our values, right? Again, we come into that co-creative partnership with the divine, where we can let go, where we can start to surrender, where we can let the divine go to work on our behalf, where the divine can rearrange the pieces to fully support the trajectory of who we're being called to be. And in the meantime, we get to clear and untangle and unravel everything that doesn't serve us while identifying more ways to feel nourished, right? And our desires can meet us in that place too. Because when we're talking about desire, and working with women now for 13 years, for a long time, there's a difference between what we think we want. That can happen. It happens all the time. It's like, well, we think that we want like this and this and this. But then as we unravel and as we sink into the space, we start to identify, as we sink into the heart, we sink into our essence, that there's deeper desires. There's deeper desires. And those deeper desires, those feminine desires, oh, there's like the softest snowflakes falling right now. It's so pretty. When we're speaking, about the feminine, those deeper desires are often rooted in more nourishment, right? It's often rooted in deeper connection, more intimacy, community, right? Creativity, like good food, pleasure, right? Spaciousness. I hear that one all the time. Spaciousness. I just want space, right? Space to soften, space to listen, although that can be uncomfortable for some people, right? Because we're not used to slowing down and taking that time. And there's all kinds of reasons for that, of course. Yeah, exactly. All of that. And so when women start to tap into their deeper desires, it's so beautiful. It's just that oftentimes our society doesn't value those desires. And so what tends to happen is we override and trust our ability to have money meet us at the level of our desires. They're often not seen as a priority. Sometimes we have partners, and such is the reality, right? Sometimes we have partners who are, they're more focused on like providing, and the deeper desires of the feminine don't necessarily feel like a priority because there's like other focuses going on. That can happen, but it all comes back to us being able to identify our desires and being able to take a stand for our desires and being able to know that this is essentially how the goddess brings nourishment and healing, right? And so when we can really understand and clarify and claim that, then money knows where to meet us, right? And when we value our desires, like that's so important, to value our desires. When we can value our desires, right? And then we take a stand for it. And then all of a sudden it's a priority. And all of a sudden money wants to meet us in that place. There's so many times where, if we don't understand what our desires are or our needs are, how can money possibly meet us in that place, right? So sometimes our desires, aren't even about necessarily how to connect it to money. Sometimes it's just the spaciousness and the new habits and the new ways of being that we need to integrate, right? That this evolving version of ourselves that we're looking to embody as we say yes to more of our vision, values, desires, right? It's actually becomes the compass for integrating new, beautiful ways of being that serve and support our expansion, our nourishment, our capacity to hold the life that we're being called to live, that is rooted in our desires, that's rooted in our vision, that's rooted in our values. There was just one other thing I was going to say, and then it floated away. So let's just see where this wants to go. I'm just going to have a sip of water here. What was I going to say? Talking about desires. And that does become an important piece. I'm just going to drop in there one last time and just see where the thread wants to go. But it becomes a really important piece, this listening to our desires on multiple levels, but even just, in terms of our own nourishment, in terms of our own yummy food, in terms of our own just pleasure and how we can create pleasurable experiences throughout our day and throughout our week. We never want to underestimate how it's recalibrating our system to support the vibration of who we're becoming. It's still not coming back, so I'm going to take a sip of water and then I'll see where this wants to go. Oh my gosh. Mm. Okay, so I want to recap one last time this old paradigm versus new paradigm, because this tapping into our desires, feeding ourselves, nourishing ourselves, listening, which is such a key piece, right? It is, and like I said, it's building our capacity, but it is expanding our vibrational state. It is nourishing us. It is building our capacity to receive more, which is so huge, to receive more, which is a lot of where the ease starts to come from, and our ability to receive and our ability to know that we're not doing this all alone. So let's talk a little bit about the old paradigm. I talk a lot about this in the Flower of Life Akashic certification. So that's, one way. If you'd love to take this work deeper, that pathway is beautiful, but I'm going to give you a couple of different options at the end anyways. So old paradigm money matrix, specifically when I'm talking, this I think would apply to poverty consciousness in general, but specifically with, women, right? Like old paradigm. If I look at like my mom, and bless her, because she was a single mom, it was very hard on her system. But generally speaking, it's a collapsed energetic state, right? It's disconnected. It is disconnected. It is working in the frequency of never enough, right? Like at the core, it's like we don't feel like we're enough. There's never enough. There's never enough time. There's never enough money, right? There's just never enough. And so there's this collapsed, depleted, disconnected, never enough energetic state, which is essentially poverty consciousness. Now, the opposite of that, and I can safely say I was coming from that vibrational state. Like this has been my journey. It's the journey that I support other women in, is really building that new internal foundation to rise in their sovereignty, to come into a new relationship with their desires and money so they can feel free in their experience. And I know what it's like to constantly burn the candle at both ends, to feel like there's never enough, to put your work out into the world and wonder if it's enough, right? And not really feel like it's touching people in the way that it needs to or wants to, because I didn't at certain points have that confidence and that understanding of my power. So now and the old paradigm is really where we see a lot of the servant girl patterns, right? So we're not connected to our desires or our vision, because we're in that disconnected, collapsed vibrational state. And we get pulled around a lot often too, right? There's we're pulled around. There could be a little bit of chaos. We're not like really anchored in our sovereignty. And so we don't necessarily have that magnetism. And that's a journey again of like that vibrational journey of who are we becoming, and embodying this new version of ourselves who understands how to navigate our sacred path with money as an ally in a whole new way. But this is where you'll see the servant girl patterns, like the chasing money, the working hard for money and never feeling like enough, right? Women can have a lot of visibility edges when it comes to letting the servant girl patterns go and actually stepping into their power, right? Claiming their desires, being a woman who knows what she wants. And there's almost, it is the sovereign codes, the queen codes, the power codes, but there can be an element of like where we also hold judgment towards other women that take up space with what they want, who know who they are, right? And who take a stand for it and who claim it no matter what. There can be almost an essence or an element of like the bitch energy, right? But there's something so powerful about claiming our desires because they matter. And when they matter, when we value them, and when they matter, and when we know they matter, they can manifest into matter. So it becomes very powerful and potent to be able to claim that. Now let's talk about new paradigm. The new paradigm money matrix is divine feminine women who understand and know their desires, who claim their desires. So they're connected, right? They're connected, they're expanded because they know how to nourish and feed themselves, right? They understand their desires and they're listening and they know how to give that to themselves. They're rooted, right? They know who they are as divine women. They understand that vision. They feel radiant, right? So it's a expanded, rooted, radiant, energetic system. It's not collapsed, it's expanded. And they're in partnership with money as a sacred ally. They understand their creative power, that they can create and lead, and that money becomes an ally. And that their desires and their vision is between them, their divine feminine desires, and God. And that they can confidently or courageously take steps in that place and know that they will be supported, right? And that we go first as creative divine beings. Okay, so I'd say we go into the Akashic field. How are we doing for time? Yeah, so for the last 20 minutes, let's do that. That feels really good. And I feel like it's just an invitation to soften, to deepen into desire. I have no idea how this is going to come through because I don't when I open up to the Akashic field. And so yeah, so this is the Flower of Life Akashic method is the method that I developed. So after 6,000 Akashic record sessions over the last like decade, I really felt like the method I was using for the Akashic records, you know, like bless it, it worked in its time. Didn't feel body-based enough for me, soft enough for me, and also felt a very mental body. And so at that around that time, I came into a deeper understanding of the Akashic field and kind of started to weave together a much more feminine based approach to working with the Akashic records that would support women to drop into these sacred spaces to recalibrate their lives from the inside out. And then also, you know, clearing out the layers and lifetimes of karmic baggage that doesn't support their soulful evolution. Those layers and lifetimes of karmic baggage, oftentimes it's woven into the fabric of our relationship to money, our relationship to the masculine, and just our relationships. Oftentimes our relationship to our mother, right? Around the mother wound, to our father, right? It goes deep. And when we're vibrationally saying yes to a deeper aspect of who we are, you know, think about all of the human dynamics that don't support the evolutionary journey of who you're becoming. And so the Akashic Records, the Flower of Life method is so beautiful to support women to quite literally root into a new paradigm of prosperity and leadership. Let's go ahead and sink into the Akashic field and see what wants to come through as a guided journey transmission for you. And this is where we'll explore a little bit of like the petal method and get, hopefully you'll leave with some clarity, some deeper nuggets of communication with your essence. So I'm just gonna go, I've got my oils here. So you can join me if it feels good to you. You can close your eyes, drop your chin, and we're just going to go ahead and sink into the space. And we're just noticing what we notice in the environment around us. Any sense, any sounds, the temperature of the room. And then we're going to bring our focus to our bodies. doing a gentle body scan. And maybe you want to just kind of give your arms just a gentle squeeze, just kind of letting your body know you're there. You can even do that along your thighs. The snow is gone and the sun is out. Wow. Now we're going to bring our focus to our breath. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a breath in through the nose, down into the energetic womb space, and up and out through the mouth. Just got my little rattle here. And we'll do that breath 2 more times, bringing it to the count of 3. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to call down the temples of divine love, light, truth, abundance, wisdom, and power to descend, grow, and expand around us, calling in our guides, masters, angels, teachers, goddesses, guardians to be present. And for truth and accuracy to be obtained for the highest good of everyone here and everyone who will be listening to this in the future, asking that this be a divinely protected space where only the highest frequencies of love and light shall exist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Bringing our focus to the womb space. We'll just go ahead and see a beautiful ruby light start to awaken in the pelvic bowl. And we're going to see that ruby light. It feels like so ancestral. Like I can feel like our ancestry, our feminine lineage, kind of like the beauty and the gifts, but also the pain. And there's something beautiful in that too. You know, as we deepen into this energy of desire, when we claim our desires and all the ways that the women in our lineage couldn't or didn't, right? It's liberating not for us, but for our whole lineage. So just inviting that ruby red energy. Ruby red energy. We're just going to see that start to swish and swirl through the pelvic bowl. Cleansing, clearing, rejuvenating, awakening the pelvic bowl. We'll go ahead and we'll bring that down through the core of the body, down through all the layers of earth and crust and soil and root and rock, right down to the core of Mother Earth. And we're just going to let that grow roots deep into the core of Mother Earth. And just allowing anything and everything that is complete at the level of the womb to be released to Mother Earth and transmuted, just releasing it back to her. Maybe it's family grief, sadness, anger. Maybe it's a creative project you're ready to let go of. We're going to let our body weight sink and sink until we feel held by the beauty, abundance, wisdom, power of Mother Earth. Allowing ourselves to drop into our back body, releasing and relinquishing any control or attachment that we have throughout last week, throughout the week ahead of us, throughout the month ahead of us, and just giving ourselves the gift of being in this present moment. Bringing our focus to the heart space. We'll go ahead and see the magenta rose bloom open. And in that space, I want you to invite rose quartz light. And we're just going to take a moment and see that rose quartz light just start to gently swish and swirl at the heart chakra level, cleansing, clearing any heaviness, any doubt, any sadness, and in between the shoulder blades as well. Just lifting it out, carrying it away. And at the core of the rose, I want you to go ahead and see the golden grid of the flower of life begin to expand and swirl out from the heart space located at the center of the chest. We're going to let the pure wisdom and high frequency light, the radiant divine substance of all of creation that's interwoven into all of life, begin to permeate and infuse itself within us, out from us, all around us, into the Akashic field. We're going to let the light continue to grow, expand, and interpermeate with the physical and non-physical reality that exists before us, all around us, and within us. We're going to let the radiant divine substance of life that flows through all things continue to flower, flow, and expand from the heart chakra. Seeing, sensing, feeling now is the doors to the Akasha. And all the light, love, and wisdom of the Akasha open to us now. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment. So the first visual that's coming through, and so the way that I often work with the Akashic field is shamanic in nature. So the first visual is I'm seeing a woman and she's kneeling on the ground and she's trying to figure out her next moves. Like feels like her next moves like a puzzle piece. Like, does this go here? Does that go here? What if I do this? What if I lay it out like that? And there's something that feels so small about it. And that's fine. We all do that in our human experience, right? And I think one thing, I was going to actually write a post on this week, but it's like, when you're in the wounded masculine aspect because you're trying to think your way out of a situation. Like you're spending more time in your head than you are in your body. So it feels like there's this invitation right away. As soon as I saw her, it's like, well, what's the opposite of that? Where we sometimes feel small and we're trying to logically figure steps out and things aren't moving. The opposite is to step into our power and to build our self-source. We self-source our energy and we step into our leadership. We get clear on what we want and we come into the relationship with the divine, with the universe. And then we start to move from that place, right? We get the next step from that energy. So I'm just going to keep tuning in though. That's just the first thing that came through. And actually, I'm just going to have some water. There's definitely this sense of what is ready to what does feel small. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you shared that. That gives me like an idea, right, of what's like stirring under the surface. So it feels like there's this sense of, well, one, it's like being afraid of our power, right? It's a visibility piece to show up in a different space of holding our power. There's like a reverberation that goes out into our relationships and it touches those relationships and it means the dynamic needs to shift into a new vibrational experience with how we're showing up. So it's just an invitation to notice what you notice as I share this. And now I'm going to go back to the field here and get a real pulse on what's showing up around this. Give me 1 second. So there's this invitation to approach the situation, to approach life. So here's the thing, because I was like, something old, it feels like something old wants to be released. So what if it's like the old way of like trying to problem solve and map out and step by step it isn't the way forward? What if that's not the way forward? What if the way forward is actually to like let that go, to take a step back, to go and to move into the energy of, Laura, you're going to love this one, flow and play and fun, right? Like where we take a step back, because what happens in that place is we actually shift into a more inspired state. We shift into a more inspired state. And from there, we often get like clarity and resolution and inspiration and next steps. So I just wanted to share that. And that's kind of like, that's like the new way. And this is more about the flow state. This is more about the flow state. I've been hearing that on repeat for weeks. Right. I know, but old patterns die hard. Great. Yes. Isn't that the way that it works? Yeah. So that's the flow state. That's like an inspired state. And it really is like cultivating a new muscle. And when we realize that we can co-create actually a lot more fluid and a lot faster in that state, then we start to build that muscle and we start to trust that we can show up in that place of leadership, and we start to co-create in a totally different framework that feels much more supportive, really, because we're working with the energy of flow. This is interesting that this is coming through. Now, I'm going to go ahead and like tap in. Okay, so here is the next question. And the next visual that I'm getting is a woman who has, Lori, actually, I think you were a dancer, but if I don't schedule it, I don't tend to do it. Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think play too can be like it's like, you know, it's including our inner child in like a lot of mundane tasks, right? Like it's like, how can we make something fun and playful, right? And how do we get to bring the energy of like that, like into our businesses, into the way that we show up and do our marketing, right? Yeah. Yeah. And that's where we really tap into the energy of the feminine. We become a lot more magnetic because we're in the energy of like play, flow, and fun. And it's, you know, really where too, we're like a lot, part of like authentic leadership is also like integrating connection to the inner child, right? And how the inner child gets to be incorporated in our expression and in our leadership. And our inner child truly is just the naturalness of who we are, right? It's just our natural state. And so the more that we can tap into her, connect to her, listen to her, and allow some of the way that she desires to show up. So here we are talking, there's the desires piece. And this is why desires can be like right in front of us, can be right in front of us. And we need to look at how to integrate them in the here and the now to shift our vibrational state of being, to shift our embodiment, because this is the journey of becoming a new version of ourselves. So we can have those kind of more surface level desires, and we can have the deeper desires and the deeper longings, right? That sometimes require us to do the journey of becoming embodied vibrationally, right? So that we can really experience the capacity to hold our desires and also become the version of us. Sometimes it's a matter of becoming the version of us so that we can attract our desires, right? So that we can attract our desires. And this is often the case too with even a new experience or relationship with money, right? We're becoming a new vibrational version of us. And then money begins to show up for us in a whole entirely new way. I've seen this happen a lot. Now, I want to go back to the visual that I'm getting. Speaking of inner child and desires and play and flow and fun, there's a little girl and she's on a stage and she's tap dancing and she's got her hat on. And she's got her hat, like a little tap, like a little top hat and a little tap shoes, and she's got a little cane and she's performing, right? And she's like, so there's this invitation to like, what would it feel like and what would it be like to be the star of your own show? Like that's what I get, this like the star of your own show, to just like let yourself like really be in like the joy and the vibrancy. This is very magnetic, right? Where we just get to be the sun in our like in our own like universe, where we just get to shine in the truth of who we are, right? And so I could see how this could be a desire, right? Like I could see how this could be a desire. Like you can have a desire. I know I've had a desire to like for more performance, like, and by performance, I mean like incorporating more, especially like in circle work, but more like to sing, right? Like more voice stuff, to like play more drums, like to like that desire to just like to perform and to share my essence in different ways. So there's this little girl and she's just taking up space. She's taking up space and it feels natural and it feels dance more. Yeah, totally. Exactly. So you might have to do some reels, Nicole. Some dance reels. Teasing. Gonna get my hydration on. So now I'm going to tune in though and see where this wants to go. And so you can see we're kind of traveling. We're traveling some layers. I've considered that. Yeah, totally. I saw this. This is new to me, but I saw this on Instagram the other day. Somebody talking about habit stacking. And I've never heard that term before, but it made sense to me. And habit stacking being, you're doing two things at once. You're meditating and you're wearing a face mask. You're cooking and you're catching up with like a good friend on the phone. You're habit stacking. Oh, right. Yeah. So there you go. You can dance and do a reel. Now let's just go ahead. So now I'm seeing, and it kind of fades away from like the little girl on the stage to now I'm seeing like an actual like older woman who's sitting on a riverbank under a tree and she's very sad. She's very sad and she's kind of like hunched over. She's like this and she's very sad because um there's a sense of not feeling expressed in her desires, and there's a sense of life passing by, and there's a sense of sadness and maybe even regret over where there hasn't been the opportunity to understand who she is or what her desires are. And I want to say that this happens all the time because we haven't been supported to understand or to know ourselves this way. And also this can happen. It reminds me of how sometimes when we've been the caretaker of our parents or our mother, right? This can be a part of like the mother wound. Well, we definitely didn't learn how to take a stand for our own wants, our own needs, our own dreams, right? Because we have been busy caretaking for the mother that should have been, supporting us and loving up on us and helping us identify what our desires were and helping us understand how to take a stand for what our desires are in the world, right? And so, and speaking of the mother wound, it's not necessarily anyone's fault. The mother wound runs deep. We come from generations of women who have taken care of families, who have, you know, assumed a certain role and position in community, and there hasn't been a lot of space or encouragement to understand themselves that way. So they carry sadness and they carry resentment and they don't understand how to access it for themselves. And then the next generation comes along and they don't understand how to support their daughters to do that either. Right. So it is part of healing the mother wound. But I want you to, if you can visualize this, I want you to go to that woman. If you can see her, like this woman who's hunched over and sad. And I just want you to put your hand on her shoulder and to comfort her and to just comfort her and to let her know it's going to be okay. That there's still so much time and that she matters and that her desires matter. And then I want you to start to travel the thread of where in your own inner core, in your own body, where do you feel sadness over not having your own desires met, right? Sadness over feeling like maybe time is like passing you by. Where can you relate to how she's showing up in your experience? And just give yourself a moment to like breathe into that and to feel that. And then to comfort yourself. What do you need to hear? How can you comfort yourself the same way that you would comfort that woman? And as you feel into the sadness, See, we're moving through the petals, right? We're moving through the layers. And as you feel into that sadness, and I want you to keep breathing, noticing where you might like feel it in your body even. You're just going to keep breathing into that sadness, right? And logically, you don't even need to know really where the sadness is stemming from. So there's this invitation to just continue to, with curiosity, with love, with softness, right? What are the deeper desires that you have that you feel that maybe have been put on the back burner? That maybe sometimes you feel you don't have a voice around, or that it doesn't feel safe to even acknowledge. And see if you can uncover that deeper desire, right? That you really, really want. Maybe it's been that ache has been there for a while, right? What is it that you really want? That you desire, that you long for? And I'm seeing the woman that I saw under the tree now. She's got like this pearl in her hand, and she's standing at the edge of like an ocean on a cliff, and she's like polishing this pearl, like the desires, right? Like the desire, like what is the desire? What do I deeply want? What have I been putting off? What have I been saying isn't a priority, or isn't, that is too much, right? Too inconvenient. What are my dreams? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? So it's nothing that in this place we need to clarify 100%. We don't need to claim it, but we're pulling back the layers, we're moving through the petals, we're dropping in, we're asking the question, right? What do I want? And I just seen this woman with the pearl, just polishing it. What do I want? What do I want? Right? And I feel like there's this sense of relief, like, like there it is. And in this space, whatever has started to illuminate for you, like whatever the desires are, whether it's, the flow, the play, the fun, right? Or some of the deeper desires that maybe have been buried and maybe there's pain around them, right? Maybe there's some clarity starting to open. I just want you to keep breathing into your body, breathing into your heart, breathing into your womb, right? Your desires are meant for you. Your desires are meant for you. Right? It's a part of your divine expression. It's never too late, right? They're meant for you. And I just want you to take a moment, and if there's, something emerging for you around this, really just like holding it near and dear to your heart. And like I said at the beginning of the call, you don't need to claim your desires yet. You can be with your desires. You can just be in that space of mulling it over and having it just be something that you get to connect to and explore, right? And when you are ready to claim it, there's this invitation, the claiming. And I want to leave you with this too, because this is the place of, I saw the woman who was mapping out the pieces, and the energy felt, small. little bit small. So here, it's like I'm leaving you with the invitation when you're ready to claim those desires, right? We lock in our desires as powerful women, right? We lock it in by claiming our desires, by deciding we're going to have our desires no matter what, and by moving into 100% faith that our desires, the vision that we have, where we are the embodied vibration of experiencing our desires. Maybe the desire is expansion in your business, or spaciousness in your home life, or a business that reflects your desire for spaciousness so you can have more time with your family, or maybe it's more travel, or maybe it is more nourishment, community, all those beautiful things that I said. But maybe it's actually like travel or a new wardrobe, right? It's the key is that we're accessing the desires from the softness, from like the yearning, from the longing. The physical world is here to lend itself to our divine expression, right? We came as divine beings to have a physical experience. Our desires are the compass that show us the human experience in which our divinity gets to experience more of itself. Some of your desires make you feel sad. I know, hey? Can you speak to like anything around that? Do you feel why? I can feel like the sadness, and I feel like that can happen when we feel alone with our desires. We don't feel supported with our desires. And so this is that coming into and claiming our desires. So deciding we're going to have our desires met no matter what. Powerful, creative spark, and knowing that this is between us and the divine, right? And when we have a desire, the way opens, right? We claim it, we rise in our power, right? We point our focus and our vision on the outcome of having our desires met. We take a stand for our desires. We ask for our desires. We place boundaries around our desires. This now becomes it now is between us and the divine, right? And when we have clarity on what our desires are, the way opens, the next step opens, the next opportunity opens, the money shows up to support the next step. Because I struggle to believe this particular one is possible. Yes, totally. So this is the process of giving yourself the space of dancing with your desires, of like a lot, because it can feel like a bird, like there's like the pearl and then the bird kind of like moving around the desire, because it can feel unsafe, right? There maybe past disappointment, maybe it feels too big, but this like feeling through the layers, like over the next few days or in the next few weeks, right? Really marinating in what that desire means to us and who it's asking us to be, and why we have hesitation around it is a part of the healing process. It's a part of the dissolving the layers of disconnect. It's definitely part of the healing process, right? Because the old version of us, for some reason, it hadn't manifested yet. We haven't learned how to hold it yet. Yeah, totally. So giving ourselves the time and the space that we need to really feel into our desires, and when we're ready, we claim them. Right? It's very, very magnetic. It's very co-creative, and it's an invitation into more of our power, of taking a stand for our desires, our needs, our wants, our values, our vision. When we can clarify that, the supply can meet us in that place. The supply can meet us in that place. But as co-creative, powerful beings, we've got to claim it first. We've got to lead from our sovereignty, lead from our power. And this is truly the way that it gets to be, because we, again, are powerful divine beings, powerful, creative divine beings. We are not limited. So I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm going to close out of the Akashic field. And I'm going to thank the guides, guardians, masters, angels, teachers who have been a part of this experience. And then we're going to know that clarity, healing, intentions, activations are all going to unfold into completion for your highest good. And the door between the worlds is now closed. Oh, that's so cool. 11:11. Yeah, it's 10:11. No, wait a minute. It's 11:11 here too. No, 12:11. Okay, never mind. Okay, so for anyone who is catching this replay and who wants to go deeper, I am making an invitation to explore the Flower of Life Akashic Certification Pathway. A lot of what I share here, we dive into in the Flower of Life Akashic Certification, 10 modules. It is a beautiful, personal, transformational pathway where I walk you through everything you need to partner with the Akashic Records, to understand what it means to anchor into this new paradigm, and to learn to work with the Akashic Records to clear and untangle everything you're not as you step into and embody this new vibrational version of yourself. And then, of course, you're certified with the Flower of Life Akashic Healing Method. You can facilitate that on behalf of others. How beautiful is that? And also, if you desire a private container, one of my bigger transformations, Feminine Phoenix Rising, a 9-moon soul initiation for women who are ready to lead from the ease of their divine feminine power and leadership. I have 2 spots opening over the next month. If something deeper, bigger, if you're on the edge of a big leap, if you know you really want to untangle, clear, and recalibrate to these sovereign codes, and you want some assistance really shifting relationship dynamics as you become a new version of yourself, birthing your legacy work, leading beyond the box of society, you can message me. You can apply for that. I have 2 spots open. If you would just love to get a taste of this work, you can reach out for a private Akashic record session. I've got 1 hour, 3 1-hour spots open right now at 50% off. So $297 for 1 hour and 2 weeks of Voxer support. Reach out if that speaks to you. I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here. Yes, you are. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Lori, for coming. Thank you, Diane and Nicole. And reach out or email me, Tara@tarapreston.com if you have questions. Bye for now.